Ever feel kind of stuck? Like stuck in a system that just doesn't really work for you? Like your voice is just kind of lost in the noise? Well, you're not alone. Recently, a surprising movement kind of popped up, aiming to shift the power back to the consumer. It's called the Economic Blackout. Hit that like button if this is something you've heard about. I'm really curious to know how far this thing has spread. What began as a simple online post by John Schwarz, a mindfulness and meditation facilitator, turned into a viral call to action. This guy, usually sharing messages of peace and self-reflection, called for a 24-hour nationwide boycott of major chains and fast food giants on the last day of February. His proposition: instead of fueling the corporate machine, spend the day supporting local businesses, focusing on essential needs, or simply taking a break from mindless consumerism. It's like hitting the pause button on the whole system for just one day. And get this, his video exploded online, racking up over 8.5 million views. Even celebrities like Stephen King, Bette Midler, and Mark Ruffalo jumped on board, amplifying the message to their massive followings. So what exactly is this economic blackout? And what's the big idea behind it? Imagine millions of people simultaneously refusing to spend money at places like Amazon, Walmart, McDonald's, all the big players. The goal is to demonstrate the collective power of consumers and send a message that we're not just cogs in their profit machine. Now, you might be thinking, can this really make a difference? Some experts are skeptical, arguing that successful boycotts are typically highly organized and focused on specific demands. But here's where it gets really fascinating. Despite the doubts, this movement tapped into a wellspring of public frustration. People are tired of rising prices squeezing their wallets. They're angry at corporate greed and a growing gap between the rich and everyone else. And they're feeling increasingly powerless in the face of these massive systems. This economic blackout became a focal point for those feelings, a way to channel that simmering frustration into a collective action, even if just for a day. What's remarkable is the diversity of people drawn to this movement, each with their own motivations. Some are concerned about simply making ends meet in this economy, while others are outraged by the unchecked power of billionaire CEOs. Some are pushing back against specific political agendas they perceive in corporate actions, while others are motivated by companies rolling back their diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) policies. It's a convergence of concerns, all channeled into a single day of economic resistance. Now let's talk about the man behind the movement, John Schwarz. Even he was blown away by the response. He initially thought it would resonate with a small group of his followers, but the message clearly struck a nerve on a national scale. Recognizing the potential of this groundswell, he formed the People's Union, hoping to harness the momentum and create lasting change. He's now calling for more targeted boycotts against corporate giants, like Amazon and Walmart, advocating for causes ranging from universal health care to term limits. It's a fascinating evolution, from a personal call for mindfulness to the potential formation of a powerful grassroots movement. So we've been unpacking this economic blackout and its ripple effects, but there's another boycott kind of brewing, and this one's laser focused on a particular company, Target. You might have heard about the growing backlash against corporations retreating from their diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) commitments. And Target's found itself right in the crosshairs. What's intriguing here is that Target seems to be facing more intense scrutiny than other companies, making similar moves. Why? Well, they went all in on DEI initiatives, cultivating a reputation as a progressive and inclusive brand. So when they started scaling back these programs, it felt like a betrayal to many, especially Black consumers and LGBTQ+ advocates, who saw them as an ally. It's a stark reminder that consumers are increasingly attuned to corporate values and actions, and they're not afraid to hold companies accountable when they feel those values are compromised. Hit that subscribe button if you're finding this as fascinating as I am. Now, Target's actions weren't just symbolic gestures. They eliminated hiring goals for minority employees, disbanded a racial justice committee, and made other significant changes to their DEI framework. While they maintained their commitment to creating a sense of belonging, the optics haven't been favorable, to say the least. Actions speak louder than words, and in this case, the perception of backtracking on DEI has fueled a powerful backlash. Adding fuel to the fire, a prominent pastor, Reverend Jamal Bryant, has called for a 40-day boycott of Target, starting March 5th. He's urging people to shift their spending to Black-owned businesses instead, and his message is resonating with many. There's even a petition circulating with thousands of signatures, underscoring the palpable anger and disappointment among consumers. And here's something that might surprise you. There's data suggesting this boycott might be having a tangible impact. Foot traffic to Target stores has declined more sharply compared to Walmart and Costco, both of which have maintained their DEI policies. While it's difficult to definitively attribute this solely to the boycott, analysts are pointing to it as a contributing factor. This raises some interesting questions. Could this signal a shift in consumer behavior, where companies face real economic consequences for their actions, especially those perceived as misaligned with public values? Could this be a turning point, where corporate social responsibility becomes not just a marketing tactic, but a core business imperative? But hold on a second. Are boycotts really a long-term solution? History's filled with examples of boycotts generating a lot of initial buzz, only to fizzle fizzle out over time. Remember that Bud Light boycott last year? Their sales took a hit after a partnership with a transgender influencer sparked outrage from some conservative groups. This demonstrates that when a boycott aligns with a strong ideological stance and offers a readily available alternative, like switching to a different beer, it can deliver a real punch. But the Target situation is a bit more nuanced. While consumers may be upset about the perceived rollback on DEI, where else are they going to shop for similar products and services? Many major retailers are facing similar pressures and making comparable decisions. It highlights a systemic challenge. If the boycott's focus is too narrow and readily available alternatives are limited, can it truly achieve lasting change? Or is it simply a short-term expression of frustration? Of course, boycotts aren't just about immediate financial impact. They can raise awareness about crucial issues, force a public conversation, and put pressure on companies to reevaluate their actions. Consider the boycotts targeting companies using sweatshop labor. While they didn't single-handedly eliminate the practice, they fueled a broader movement for ethical sourcing, forcing companies to improve conditions, and increasing consumer awareness of the human cost behind their purchases. Similarly, the boycotts targeting companies with ties to the NRA after the Parkland shooting sent a powerful message. Consumers wouldn't tolerate business as usual in the face of gun violence. These examples demonstrate that even if a boycott doesn't result in immediate policy changes, it can shift the conversation, elevate an issue, and contribute to broader societal change. So, even if this Target boycott doesn't force a complete reversal of their policies, it might make them, and other companies watching from the sideline, think twice before making similar decisions in the future. It's a reminder that in today's interconnected world, corporate actions have consequences, and consumers are paying attention. The question remains, is this a fleeting moment of consumer activism, or are we witnessing a fundamental shift in how consumers wield their power in the marketplace? So we've explored the economic blackout, the targeted boycott against Target, and the broader historical context of consumer activism. It's clear that in today's landscape, consumers are increasingly recognizing their collective power and flexing their muscles in the marketplace. But this goes beyond simply choosing to buy or not buy a certain product. It's about holding corporations accountable for their actions, making our voices heard in a world often dominated by corporate interests, and pushing for a more just and equitable society. This brings us to some thought-provoking questions. Can individual consumers genuinely make a difference in the face of these massive corporations? Are we truly wielding power? Or are these boycotts just symbolic gestures, ultimately ineffective against these behemoths? What are the ethical implications of using our wallets as weapons? And how can we ensure that these boycotts are genuinely effective and don't backfire, inadvertently harming the very causes they aim to support? These are complex questions without easy answers, and I encourage you to grapple with them. Discuss them with your friends, family, colleagues, anyone who'll engage in a good debate. What resonates most with you in all of this? Have you ever participated in a boycott? Did you feel like it made a difference? I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Share them in the comments below. One thing's for sure, this conversation is far from over. As consumers, we have a crucial role to play in shaping the world we want to live in. Whether we actively participate in boycotts or not, we must stay informed, engaged, and ready to make our voices heard. If you found this deep dive insightful, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more explorations of fascinating topics. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay empowered.